Hello everyone, my name is Alan. I'm an architect and an illustrator based here in the Philippines. And in today's video, I'm gonna be reviewing the Madisi Nano Watercolors by Lightwish. These paints were kindly sent to me by our friends from Lightwish, and currently this is available on Amazon US for the price of $25.99 US. This set has 24 huge pans, and according to the supplier, the key selling points of these paints is its nature-inspired vivid colors, smooth and glossy finish, flexible and layerable, large pans, versatile brush set, and elegant packaging. If you guys are gonna be interested to getting your Madisi set, I'll be putting all the useful links at the description box. So now let's take a look at the Madisi box. So in front we have here I think the logo of Madisi. It says here Madisi, and also it says here made in China. We have here 24 because we have 24 colors, and I believe this is Madisi watercolor. It says here watercolor. The box is solid, it's sturdy, I think. And also at the back we have here again the logo, and it says here Madisi Nano Watercolors. By the way, I'm not sure what Madisi means. It could be, the French artist Matisse. I'm not sure. But anyway, we have here the company information, and it also has the ASTM sign here and a QR code. Now let's open our box, and here are our paints, and it is still wrapped, so it's still very fresh. And I'm gonna be using my palette knife to remove the cellophane. I believe this is really helpful to avoid our paints from getting contaminated, but actually it doesn't need it anymore because it has again another protection here. It has some sort of an acetate protection. So here, let's take it out, and here are our pans. One of the colors got cracked, but that's fine. And we have here, wow, we have here 6 brushes. They feel like natural hair. If you look closely, you'll see that the tips aren't pointed anymore because of the transit movements maybe. But anyway, we are gonna be testing out one of the brushes for our sample painting later. Now let's look at our paints. The paints are placed in this plastic tray, and the plastic tray is covered with felt or velvet powder. I hope this does not bother the paints, but for now I think I will need to rearrange this according to my preference, according to Spectrum, because looking at the cover, we have here the color names, and it says here Madisi Nano Watercolor 24. I'm not agreeing with the sequence of the color. I'm very particular to this, so allow me to rearrange them according to Spectrum. So I think we are now good with the arrangement of our colors. And yes, I know this pans reminds you so much of the Kuretake Gansai Tambi, and we are gonna be comparing it later, but for now let's take a look closely at a single pan. So this is a huge pan. I think it's around 1 inch by 1.8 inches and around half an inch thickness, and it's not filled up to the brim, nearly half. But I feel like the total contents of this is nearly a full pan. Now let's get our Kuretake Gansai Tambi. So let's take a look at one, and also this one. So by size, they're very comparable. But you can see at the Gansai Tambi pan, we have here some information. I believe the number code of the color, and also it says here made in Japan, while in our Lightwish pan, or the Madisi pan, we do not have any information, so it's blank. So I think it would be good if you are to put labels. Also, aside from the Kuretake Gansai Tambi, I had these paints called the Semi-Art Semi-Dry Watercolors, which are also having the same size of pans. I got this, I believe, during the pandemic 2020. And yes, also they're very comparable with these Madisi paints, but even these semi-art pans have marks or have codes at the back, so that's the difference. But the pans are really very comparable and the same dimension wise. And now I have just finished washing our brushes. I removed the glue that that makes them hard, and let's see if they maintain this point after they dry. And I'm gonna be using the smallest one for our sample painting, the size 1. So let's set these brushes aside. So I'm using the size 1 for our sample painting, and I'm gonna be using my size 6 resable Holbein brush for the swatches. And as you can see, I placed my pans beside my swatch sheet to make it easier and also to make them fit our view. But anyway, I'm gonna be zooming it closer. Anyway, our paper, as always, is Arches 185 cold pressed cotton paper. So now we can start swatching, and since we do not have the pigment codes, let's just discuss it by the color name. Our first color is titanium white, and as expected, it's very opaque. Next color is lemon yellow. This is the cool yellow in this set, and as of now, it's semi-opaque. But let's wait until the paints get dry to see if they remain opaque or transparent. Yellow pale is the mid-yellow in this set, and it's semi-transparent. Next we have here Garcinia, and it's the warm yellow of this set. By the way, the paints are activating instantly, and that's a good thing. Now we have here orange yellow, but the way I see it, I think it's a mid-orange. Next we have here a color they're calling as portrait tone, and yeah, it looks flesh, and this is very opaque. Next we have here vermilion, and it's the warm red of the set. It's also semi-opaque. Now we have here their scarlet that looks like a warm red in mass tone but goes a little bit cooler in washes. Now here's their version of crimson red, and I actually love this red. It's very strong, and I think it's transparent. Now we have here their rose color, and this is their magenta, and I'm glad to see that it's also transparent and very strong. Now this color is called brilliant purple, and it reminds me so much of the imperial purple. Now our next color is called blue lotus, and it just looks like a very deep violet, and I think this is their dioxazine violet or dioxazine purple. Now their ultramarine is really deep, and I think it's more on the purple side, and as early as now I'm seeing hints of granulation. Now their cobalt blue is obviously just a hue. It's a mixture of a blue pigment plus white. Yeah, I can say it looks like cobalt blue, but this one's very opaque. Now their cerulean blue obviously again is another mixture of a blue pigment with white. And yes, it looks like cerulean blue, but again, just like cobalt blue, this one's opaque. Wow. Now their Prussian blue is really Prussian blue, and it's so deep, and its depth can compete with the blue lotus. Now their phthalo green looks like a phthalo green blue shade, and I'm glad that it's strong and at the same time it's transparent, just like their Prussian blue. The green deep is also a gorgeous green. It reminds me so much of Hooker's green. This is semi-transparent. Now their sap green version, I must say, is beautiful. It looks natural, and it reminds me of the sap green of Sennelier. Green pale is, your typical yellow green or apple green. I'm not really a fan of this shade, but to botanical artists, I think this is useful. Now our next color is yellow ochre. And obviously this is more on the opaque side, and I'm expecting that from this color. Next we have here burnt sienna, and the hue is beautiful. I think it's really burnt sienna, but this one's more on the opaque side as well, just like the yellow ochre. I've noticed that whenever I put water on our paints, the paints have this, appearance. It whitens like that. And I think they added something in the paints that make it behave that way, maybe to achieve that, Gansai paints behavior. And also you can see that the paints, even if they're dry, they're very shiny, but I'm not sure what they added to these paints to make it look that way. Maybe sort of a glue. Now their burnt umber doesn't actually look like burnt umber. It's beautiful, but it looks like a mixture of burnt umber and sepia. What do you think? And finally we have here black, and it's just black. It's very deep. And now, while we are waiting for our swatches to dry, let's now proceed to our sample painting. And for the colors, I've chosen 6 colors. I have here pale yellow. I also have here scarlet, ultramarine, cerulean blue. I also have the real deep, and burnt sienna. And to speed up the video, I'm gonna be putting the painting process through clips. So if you have any questions, please just comment it below. So let's begin. And by the way, I'm using their size 1 brush. Now both our sample painting and swatches are finally dry. We can now have a closer look. And now let's take a look at our Madisi Nano Watercolor swatches and sample painting. Let's now have a proper review. Let's begin with the color selection. So we have here 3 yellows, sort of 2 oranges, 4 reds, but I can count those as purple as well. Okay, 2 violets, 4 blues, 4 greens, 3 earth colors, a black, and a white. For me, this color selection is okay. I think I can work on this. But if I were to be more meticulous, I would be happier to have another brown, say a real burnt umber instead of the green pale. But that's just me. I'm not really a fan of apple greens or yellow greens. And also, I would be happier also if the Garcinia or their warm yellow was a bit more orangey or warmer, say like a quinacridone gold. Now, if we are to talk about the saturation of the paint, I think they're saturated enough. They're very vibrant to my eyes. Now, when it comes to transparency, I will admit it, at first I was afraid that the colors are mostly on the opaque side, but gladly gladly when they dried. Some of the colors, or at least half of them, turned into semi-transparent or more on the transparent side. And of course, the colors that are opaque or on the opaque side are those which contain white, and those are portrait tone, cerulean blue, green pale, I think yellow ochre is also opaque, and of course titanium white. Being a titanium white, those are the opaque colors, and the rest are semi-transparent and transparent. Now when it comes to mixability, I was able to mix all the colors that I needed. The burnt sienna and the ultramarine made nice grays here, so you can see it here. I did not have any issues mixing my colors. Now when it comes to movement, no, they don't really move that quickly, but they move well, I can say. They still need help, but what I'm very happy about these paints is that they spread nicely on paper. You can see how evenly the colors spread on my sample painting, especially on the sky part. And now to check how well our paints adhere on paper, let's rub a sheet of napkin against our swatches and sample painting. And if we get traces of pigments here, then that could be a sign that these paints are somewhat chalky. And we don't want that. Oh, our paper got damaged already. I think we have here very light traces of pigments, but that's very passable. I almost damaged the paper, by the way. And yes, I think these paints can pass my paint adherence on paper test. And now let me get back our brushes. They're now dry, and I'm glad to say that yes, they were able to keep their points. But this one, I think the hairs became loose, but yeah, that's fine. And also I must say I was very happy with my experience using the #1 brush. I think it exceeded my expectations because as you can see, this paintbrush are okay, just okay looking. They are not, you know, premium looking, but they perform quite well, especially for the price. I can say I can use this on my work, so I can really say that these brushes are a good addition or a good bonus. I just wish they had included at least 2 flat brushes. These two are like the same. I can keep maybe size 2, size 4, and size 6. Then I want to have 2 flat brushes, and that's perfect for me. And now for our comparison portion, let's begin with the set of paints that are less performing as compared to the Madisi Nano Watercolors. So that, let's begin with the Simbalayon Watercolors. We have the Dong A Creative. We also have here the Best Buy, but I misplaced it. We also have the Jovi Aquarela, the Sterling Arts Watercolors, the Faber-Castell Solid Watercolors, the Sakura Koi Pocket Filled Sketchbox, the Giorgione Watercolor Cakes, the Reeves Watercolor, the Magiwaps Basics, the Montmartre 2 Seasons, Mary's Watercolors in Pans, Mary's Watercolors in Tubes, the Faber-Castell Tubes, the Pentel Watercolors Fine, the Art Ranger Watercolors. We also have the Berkeley Watercolors. Then we have the Bebeo Studio Watercolors, the Lefranc and Bourgeois Louvre Watercolors, the Prang Watercolors 2007 and 2019. Then we have the Renaissance Watercolors and the Pelican Transparent Watercolors. Now our next batch of paints are the paints that are, I think, comparable to Madisi Nano Watercolors, but still I'll try to mention my preference. So let's begin with the Koh-i-Noor and Nilinki Brilliant Watercolors. I think I'm still siding with Madisi because they're pigment based, I believe. The Good Side Chinese Painting, I'm for Madisi. Owen Watercolor Cakes, I think very comparable. Owen Watercolor Metal Case, yes, very comparable. Sakura Matte Watercolors, yes, also very comparable. Sakura Koi in Tubes, comparable. Semi Art Solid Watercolors, yes, also very comparable. Miyahimi Solid Watercolors, I think I'd go with Miyahimi, but price wise I think I'd go with Madisi. Pretty Excellent Watercolors, yes, really comparable, but I think Pretty Excellent are more transparent. Superior Foldable, yes, very comparable. Superior Fan Palette, super comparable. Semi Arts Watercolors, yes, these two are very comparable. Next, Superior watercolors. I think Superior are cleaner. Next, we have the Mil Yang watercolors. I think I prefer Mil Yang because they give the pigment codes. But yeah, they're also clean colors. And we have here the Winsor & Newton China. I'm citing to them because they have the pigment codes, but I think the colors of Madisi are more attractive. Then we have the Grumbacher Academy. They provided the pigment codes, so I would like to cite on them, but the colors are just, messy, and almost every color is opaque, so I'm choosing Madisi for now. And we have Brewster Artist watercolors. They provided the pigment codes. They are both vibrant, but I think the Brewster watercolors are more attractive. So now let's compare these two sets that also have the same size of pans. We have the Semi-Art Semi-Dry watercolors, and I think the colors of the Semi-Art Semi-Dry watercolors are more even, although the vibrancy is very comparable. So I don't know, but I think the saturation of the earths at Madisi I think is better, but I really like the Payne's gray of Semi-Art, so I think this is a draw. Now let's go to Kuretake Gansai Tambi. I know a lot of people love Kuretake Gansai Tambi, but I know it's not just for me. There's something in its texture that's not working for me, so I'm choosing Madisi Nano Watercolors over the Kuretake Gansai Tambi. I know you're surprised. Yeah, and also Madisi is more affordable, so plus points for Madisi Nano Watercolors. And also Madisi Nano Watercolors are more traditional watercolor feeling as compared to the Kuretake Gansai Tambi. Yes, the Madisi Nano Watercolors are not the most transparent watercolors available, and so was the Kuretake Gansai Tambi. So I'm choosing Madisi Nano Watercolors over Kuretake Gansai Tambi. Now the following paints are a combination of student grade paints and professional grade paints, and these are all, I think, better performing as compared to the Madisi Nano Watercolors. So let's begin with the Kiaomei watercolors. We also have the Sonnet watercolors, the Winsor & Newton Cotman, the Van Gogh 12+D. Now we have the Lucas Aquarelle 1862. Visually, I know Madisi is more attractive, but the pigments that are included at Lucas Aquarelle are more reliable for me. They have cadmiums and cobalts. I think I can give the point to Lucas Aquarelle 1862 for now. And yes, Prima Marketing Tropicals, the Mungyo Professional Watercolors, the Wichitrong by Silpacorn, the Maris Masters Watercolors. You also have the Viburnum Art Professional Watercolors, the Kokuyo Kamling Tamil Watercolors from India, the Paul Rubens Watercolors, Paul Rubens Floral Set, Paul Rubens 4th Generation. We also have the Isaro Extra Fine Watercolors, the Blocks Extra Fine Watercolors, the Utrecht, the Rembrandt Luxury Pocket Box Set. We also have the Egalio Honey Watercolors. Then we have here the White Knights watercolors in tubes, the Core watercolors, the Winsor & Newton Professional. We also have the Holbein Botanical Paints. We also have here the Mijello Pure Pigment Set, 26 colors, the Schmincke Horadam Aquarelle, and of course the Daniel Smith watercolors. So now, if you are to ask me, would I recommend the Madisi Nano Watercolor Set by Lightwish? My easy answer is, of course, yes. If you are a student or a learner who just want to explore watercolors without breaking the bank, these paints are really very good for that purpose. Plus you get 6 very usable brushes, so I think that's already a good deal. You have 24 huge pans and 6 brushes. Yeah, it's already a good deal. But if you are an advanced learner or say a professional artist, I would suggest you to get some higher grade paints or professional grade paints and carefully select your pigments. But again, if you already have this set and you would like to use this for your paintings to be hung on the wall or for display, we are not yet sure about how light fast these paints are. No pigment codes or light fastness ratings were provided, so I think it's better to do your small light fastness test before you use this for paintings to be displayed, just to be more confident on using them for such paintings. The color selection is not bad at all. I'm happy with its saturation, with the vibrancy of the colors. They mix really well. Most of the colors, when they dried, became more on the transparent side. I don't think they're very chalky. So yeah, I'm happy with my experience with my sample painting here. Obviously, this set is not very portable, so if you would like to bring this on your plein air painting activity, or if you are to travel, you can bring this. I think you can still manage to bring this, but you can also get just few colors, like just what I did doing this. I selected only 6, and you can put them in your improvised containers. You can put, you know, some tapes here or magnets and put them in your metal containers, and you're totally fine. And also, what's good about this set is that they're very large. You can use, you know, huge brushes such as this size 5 or 6, and even the bigger brushes like this. This is 1 inch, so you can easily use it. So I think that's all for our Madisi Nano Watercolors review. To our friends from Lightwish, thank you so much for sending these beautiful paints for us to explore and review. I really enjoyed using them, and I really appreciate the quality of the paints and the brushes for its price. So guys, if you would like to try these paints out, I'll be putting all the useful links at the description box. Again, this has been Alan, thanking you for reaching this far, for watching this video. If you are not subscribed yet to my channel, please do subscribe to show support to my channel. Please don't forget to like and share this video as well. Again, thank you so much for watching. Bye bye.